Take a look at these two pictures. Do you see the faces looking back at you? One is a Paris manhole cover, and the other is a detail from a Monet painting. Neither image actually contains a face. Your brain instantly saw one. Why? Because your brain isn't just recording reality, it's predicting it. Neuroscientists call this process predictive coding. Now, you're probably wondering what that possibly has to do with physical symptoms. I'm Dr. Dario Zagar. I'm a neurologist, and today I want to talk about one of the most important ideas in modern neuroscience, one that completely changes how we think about chronic symptoms like pain, fatigue, dizziness, brain fog, and others. To understand this, we have to start with a surprising fact about how the brain works. Most people imagine the brain is working kind of like a camera. Sensory information comes in, your brain records it, and you experience the world exactly as it is. But neuroscience increasingly suggests that's not really what's happening. Instead, your brain is more like a prediction machine. At every moment, it's taking incomplete sensory information and combining it with your past experiences, memory, emotion, belief, and context to generate its best guess about what's happening in your body and the world around you. In other words, you don't simply feel reality, you experience your brain's interpretation of reality. And usually this works beautifully. It allows you to move quickly through the world without having to consciously analyze every sensation. Your brain filters, interprets, and predicts automatically. But prediction systems can also become biased, and that's where chronic symptoms often begin. Before we go any further, it's important to understand something. The symptoms we're talking about are real. The brain's job is to protect us, but sometimes those protective mechanisms can become overactive or overly cautious. And the brain can't protect us by simply telling us what's going on, although that would be nice. It does so by creating experiences that change our behavior. Pain makes us stop what we're doing. Fatigue forces us to rest. Anxiety makes us pay attention. These are some of the brain's most powerful protective tools. So, understanding prediction models isn't about dismissing symptoms or saying they're imagined in some way. It's about understanding one way that very real symptoms can occur. Now, imagine someone who hurts their back after lifting a heavy box. For weeks, bending over hurts, and the brain learns that bending may be dangerous. That's exactly what we would want the brain to do while healing occurs. But the problem comes when the healing is complete, but this prediction remains. In this case, even after the tissues have recovered, the brain can continue to anticipate danger from the same movements. Pain is then generated not because the body is being damaged, but because the brain predicts that damage is about to occur. And once the brain predicts danger, it begins interpreting normal bodily sensations through that lens. I see this in my office every day in various forms. For example, someone develops vertigo from an inner ear infection. Months later, the infection is long gone, but they still find themselves feeling dizzy in crowded stores, busy environments, or with head movements. The brain's learned to expect danger from sensations that are actually no longer harmful. And this process becomes even more powerful when the nervous system's already in what I call threat mode, a chronic fight or flight state driven by stress, trauma, anxiety, perfectionism, burnout, or prior illness experiences. When the brain's in threat mode, its predictions become negatively biased. Safe sensations start getting categorized as dangerous. But here's a crucial point. The symptoms are still real. The pain is real, the dizziness is real, the fatigue is real. But they're being driven by learned brain patterns rather than by tissue damage. For a long time, we assumed pain worked like a simple alarm system. Damage in the body sends pain signals to the brain. But modern pain neuroscience has shown that pain is actually an output of the brain, a protective prediction about danger. And that's why pain doesn't always correlate very well with injury. People can have terrible back pain with normal MRIs, and other people can have severe arthritis on a scan with no pain whatsoever. Athletes can continue playing with major injuries and not feel pain until after the game is over. The brain's constantly deciding, how much danger am I in, and how protective do I need to be? And if the brain learns that certain movements, sensations, environments, or emotional states are dangerous, it can keep generating symptoms long after the original trigger is gone. This also explains why fear and hypervigilance can make symptoms worse. Because the more attention we focus on symptoms, the more the brain interprets them as important. And the more we fear them, the more that the brain learns, yes, this really is dangerous. Keep sounding the alarm. This creates a vicious cycle. Symptoms lead to fear. Fear increases monitoring. Monitoring amplifies symptoms, and the symptoms then reinforce the brain's prediction of danger. Over time, these pathways become deeply learned. But, and this is the hopeful part, the brain is capable of learning safety too. That's neuroplasticity. The same brain that learned these patterns can unlearn them. And that's why approaches like pain reprocessing therapy, somatic tracking, mindfulness, emotion processing, and gradual re-engagement can be so powerful. These approaches aren't about pretending symptoms are imaginary. They're actually about helping the brain update its predictions, helping it to relearn this sensation is safe, this movement is safe, my body is not broken, and I don't need to stay in protection mode. And when the brain truly begins to understand that, not just intellectually, but at a deeper level, the symptoms can begin to quiet down. Now, this doesn't mean that every symptom is neuroplastic. Medical conditions are real, and appropriate medical evaluation is important. But one of the biggest problems in chronic symptom conditions is that too many people get stuck, searching endlessly for structural explanations, while no one explains how powerfully the nervous system itself can generate physical experiences. The brain's not making it up. The brain's creating experiences the way that brains always create experiences, through prediction, interpretation, and protection. Once you understand that, chronic symptoms start to make a lot more sense. And more importantly, a path to recovery starts making sense too. Because if the brain learned the symptom, the brain can also learn something new.